Welcome to the Sellernomics podcast, where we share valuable tips and information in the Amazon and e-commerce space. Each week, we deliver the best interviews with some of the top Amazon personalities in the industry to help you grow your business. Today's episode is brought to you by Getida, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at Getida.com/Sellernomics. And now, here are your hosts, Rob Stanley and Lisa Kinski.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of Sellernomics. My name is Lisa Kinski. I am joined by my co-host Rob Stanley. And today's guest, you may have heard of him. I don't know, he's like really covert, flies under the radar. No, you guys, I'm
rarely
kidding. Rarely ever seen. No one knows his face. He leaves the house like once a year. Today's guest is actually our very own co-founder and CGO, Yoni Mazor. He is joining us from the New Jersey office. Yoni, how are you today?
Good. I do leave my house once a year, and then I return for the next year after all the travels. So
yeah, pretty much. No, actually, yes. Yeah, and if you guys actually haven't heard of Yoni or you don't know anything about his story, we're going to learn a little bit more about him today. But before I started working at Getida, I thought Yoni either had a twin or a private jet. And that was the only way that he got all the places he did. Because there was 3 days I saw you virtually in 3 different countries. I was like, how does this?
And I have neither, just to make it clear. Yeah.
Yeah. No private jet, no twin. He won't answer the question about a clone, though. So I think that's still.
That's an AI question. That's an AI question. Yeah.
Well, you guys, today we are talking about the ultimate Amazon seller event guide. So Yoni, to start off with, when did you start attending Amazon events and why? I
started attending Amazon events as a seller. Simple as that. A quick, history on my evolution. So over 10 years ago, I started selling online. I used to sell on a website, eBay, and then 213 on Amazon. And then the business grew very quickly from 0 to 20 million, then to 100 million. So, I got swept into this industry in such a velocity where, as you scale, you constantly face new challenges and new dimensions where you really constantly have to learn. There's no other way. So obviously there's lots of resources online to learn and stuff like that. But when you have an event, industry event or mastermind or a workshop or a conference, it's intuitive. You look for it. You just start Googling, where can I go to learn more and understand more, or look how the big guys are doing, or bigger than me guys, right? Kind of thing. So the first 3 shows as a seller that I attended, I remember, was RC in Chicago. I think RC was Internet Retail Convention Exhibition in Chicago. That was 2000, I want to say 16 or 17, something like that. And then also the Prosper Show, right? I think my first one as a seller to attend was 2017. I'm based here in New Jersey, so there was always kind of meetups or a little small workshop or mastermind, groups or mini conferences. So as a seller, I attended those, and as a seller, I always found immediate impact. It could be one presentation completely, or one part of the presentation, or one tip, or one slide that made a lot of impact for us. I was like, oh, that's a good one. So you start, implementing it, and then your business does better. Why? Because at the end of the day, business, I think most businesses, if not probably all of them, it's all about incremental improvement over time. Some have the idea that there's one hack or one trick that boom, all of a sudden your business will boom, and it will boom forever and happily ever after. That's not really the case. Things work now, it might work for a little while, but then you have to constantly adjust, reinvent yourself, whatever it is, so it will continue booming forever. That's really the story of owning or managing or being a part of a business, constantly putting the day in, day out. And these conferences really allowed that cross-pollination between all the content that's on stage, but of course, in between the hallways or the lunch breaks, hey, where are you from? What do you do? Which category? Connections. You start all of a sudden, you see, and you'll see it over time. Even I'm talking still as a seller. I'm not even talking about as from Getida, being a solution provider and stuff like that. As a seller, I start noticing that some of these people constantly go to all these events as sellers, and they're like your group, they're like your hub, they're like your family in a way for the industry. So you have industry connections, and these are if they're coming for all these events, they're doing well in business, they keep learning, they have resources, they have further connections, and you just want to be a part of that. So that's kind of my quick background into crashing into the industry, B, into the events of the industry as a seller.
Yeah. And you are in that prime location of being in, New Jersey, in that tri-state. Because whenever partners or other sellers ask me, they're like, hey, like, do you know of any events I could go to? And I'm like, do you live in New Jersey? Like, do you live in New York? Sling a cat and you'll hit an Amazon seller going to an event tonight. Like, seriously, it's so dense up there. And it seems like there's something every single day. So of all the events that you've attended, well, actually, can you ballpark how many you've been to since you've started attending events? Like all time, what's the count?
Oh, hundreds. I couldn't even, there's no count, but hundreds, over 200-300 at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So
10 years, yeah, definitely 200-300.
So what is your like top tip, or what is a strategy that Amazon sellers can implement to get the most out of these events? Because it's hard to bank on you're going to bump into somebody getting lunch and that be the most valuable, right? Like you can't calculate that. What would be your success strategy tip to give to sellers?
Yeah, so honestly, the beginning of making decisions on this for the sellers really depends on the resources they have. There's kind of two resources. One resource is time. The other one is just money. So how much time do you have to give to this endeavor, and how much money? So, if you're limited on both, try as much as you can. Once again, this, you don't have to only be United States based. You can be also European based, or there's stuff going in Asia as well. Try to see what's the nearest next to you. So a quick advice or tip would be just meetup groups. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, heard it, but if not, just go to meetup.com, right? Am I right, Rob or Lisa?
Yeah.
So
that's one of the better spots.
Yeah. So meetup.com, see what kind of Amazon seller groups or industry groups are around you, around your area. It can be you might be surprised that you have one or a few in your town, or maybe a few hours driving. Next year it can be Florida, it could be in Nevada, whatever. So you start there. If you, once you get limited on time, you're limited on money. So if it's in your town, or 1 or 2, 3 hours away driving, you don't have to get a hotel and you don't have to invest so much money. And typically these meetups are free, so you can start there. That's kind of a crash course into your first entry into the foray of events. But if you already know that you have the ability to go out, air travel, hotel for a day or two, all that stuff, but you only have limited time for 1, maybe 2 events a year, that will be the natural progression. I would say that if you are an Amazon seller, and honestly, things have shifted actually in the past 2 years, because I would say that early days it will be the Prosper Show will be the go-to show if you have to go once a year. But Amazon very quickly in the past 2 years created Amazon Accelerate, and kind of took over the industry by storm in creating a huge event. But being huge doesn't make it necessarily good. What makes it really unique and good is that so many sellers come from all over the world, but also they create this what they call Amazon Seller Cafe, I believe, where they just throw in all their Amazon seller support and Amazon teams and divisions that they have, that all are all in charge of the selling, Amazon Seller Central. So you're able to see these people face to face and really sit down with them and throw all your challenges at them and start making good connections within the ecosystem itself of Amazon and Amazon Seller Central. So in the past years, I've found that sellers found it very, very useful. Of course, you got the content, all that stuff, and the booth and the solution providers. But I think that alone, the Seller Cafe, is something so unique and so differentiated that really nobody has. This is like Amazon's home base, saying you got to land here once a year, to solve challenges, major ones if you have. So come here. We created this vessel. I think that's very important. So that would be these days, a very important event for sellers to attend if they can once a year physically. The second one will still be Prosper. The Prosper Show, I think, is still brings the most sellers from around the world, not just domestically US. The curation of the content, it's broad in its spectrum. So what I would recommend to sellers to do is before the event, just go to the website, see what sessions they have, which content piece will be challenging, are challenging you, and it could be valuable for you to attend and learn. By the way, if you're coming alone, you have to do that. Also, if you're coming with a teammate, make sure you can split the work so you don't have to go to the same sessions together. Split. That's what I used to do back in the day when I was selling. I used to often come with another team member, so we can really, sometimes the shows are so robust and have a few sessions at the same time. So we did. I remember Prosper Show some year, I think 2017, we brought 4 or 5 people. so we can send him to all these all these slides, all these presentations, and just take all these notes. And afterward we regrouped and started each with its own element or responsibility from the team members. And I think that was useful for us. But we applied a lot of resources for the business to begin with because it was kind of velocity rich in terms of the scale. That's kind of quick tips into the evolution, the monkey into the man. So from meetup groups to Amazon Accelerator to the Prosper Show, and then what do you want to take it from here, Lisa? I don't know. Tell me.
Well, actually, Yoni, go ahead, Rob.
I want to jump in on this. So you kind of started to give some great shows, and I love the idea of starting with like the meetup things. And that's what I ended up doing, was going to a lot of meetups before I started going to Prosper and others. But I already know people are going to ask this, so I'm going to ask it for them. And when you and I probably get asked this at many shows, either list your top 3 shows that sellers should go to, or the top ones they should go to for the year. It doesn't have to necessarily be 3 of them, because there is lots of great ones out there. But I know people are going to want to know that. I got asked that at the last show I was just at. So
I gave 2. I gave 2. So I gave kind of the 2. You want me to give the third leg?
Yeah. Please do.
Challenging one. Placing a third is challenging, but I would just have to say, because it's a bit closer to my heart, AMZ Innovate in New York City. Mm-hmm. AMZ Innovate by Brandon Furman. What's amazing about this event is that, one second.
That is a good show.
Yeah. What's interesting in this show, so anyway, the last one they had in November of 2023 was huge. It was like 600-700 people, but the quality of the sales was heavy, meaning they were big. They were big and chunky and high quality, high level. I mean, when you go to Seattle, you have the whole spectrum from the newbies to I guess the more corporate ones. Same thing for Prosper, but AMZ Innovate felt like not too many newbies. It was all heavy. It's a bit more, I would say, New York kind of event, but it does bring around the world. But Brandon Furman, what he did was very interesting. He marked himself the whole evolution. In 2018, I believe, he started a meetup group in New York City in Manhattan. Happens to be that the first meetup they ever did, the first sponsor and the first speakers there happened to be from Getida, because he was a seller. He's like, I'm looking for somebody to help me, promote this, create this group, and sponsor, and maybe some, speak and help with content. So sure, we'll help you. And that was kind of our first time, I believe, locally kind of supporting an event, 2018. So pretty prehistoric in a way. So that's that awesome. Meetup group, every month we used to meet, and it just grew and grew and grew. And then 2019, he decided within a year and a half later, it's like, let's do a yearly bash, because we have the core of the meetup group, the New Yorkers of the Amazon sellers. Let's kind of do a conference and a show, and so people can come domestically and from around the world. I think, Rob, you were there. You were the wizard. You came to that show, right? In the basement. It was like in a dark basement. Almost, I felt like a stand-up comedy club. I think probably is for regular use, but they made a conference out of it. And I believe that was also the first time I got exposed to Athena from Titan Network. This is once again 2019, I believe. Yeah.
It had to be 19.
Or 18. I don't know. I think 19. And so there was maybe only like 6 booth service providers. Not even a booth. There's like a table. There's maybe 150, 200 people. And then it was a really good success. Next year they upgraded, and then the year after they upgraded up. Now they became like a pretty serious show. 600-700 sellers from all over. With that New York anchor of the group, the sellers that are kind of local. So it was a beautiful journey to see from a small, humble meetup that with 10, 15 people into a major industry event. I must say that he does it all the years with Jared Orkin, and then also in the past 2 years with Dima. Sorry, with Dimitri. And the 3 of them, I think since Dimitri came, also gave him even more sophistication, more richness into the setup and the content and the whole venue as well. The venue was in the piers, so it overlooks the water. So when you come in, you have all the booths, but you have all this, the Hudson River spectacle, so that creates a nice ambiance. Great networking, great content, serious big sellers, and that's kind of my third leg.
Amazing. Yeah. Awesome. We are going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, but we will jump right back in talking about events in just a second.
Today's episode is brought to you by Getida, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at Getida.com/Sellernomics.
All right, you guys, be sure to head over to Getida.com/Sellernomics to get your first 400 in FBA reimbursements free. And I wanted to go on ahead and just do a quick screen share with y'all. We keep talking about meetup groups, and I know that attending a whole conference can seem really, really intimidating. But when we say that there is a show near you, there or a meetup group near you, there's a meetup group. So I just looked up Amazon Sellers New York. We've got one here happening in New York City. We've got Montreal, Philly, another one in New York, Manhattan. This is in DC and in New York, Tampa, Toronto. So there's truly a concentration of
shout out to we see this with where's the e-commerce? See right there?
Yes,
Carlos
Alvarez.
That's based in Miami. I think today is probably the largest in the world. The Amazon meetup group in the world. They have probably over 7, 8, 9,000 sellers there. So if you're in the Florida area, it's a must place to visit, be and connect and join. So shout out to them.
I'm gonna mention also that even if you're not in Florida, you can actually watch his Saturday events live on the internet. So no matter where you are, if you cannot find anywhere close by on meetup.com, you can watch or join the Wizards of Ecom out of Miami or South Florida and watch those live on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, the presentations. And he also has a vault with all the last videos he's done. So Yoni, I want to pivot a little bit back to, you mentioned a couple good things regarding like kind of prepping to go to an event and then also like how to maximize when you're at an event. Let's touch on that a little bit more. Start with, kind of what should sellers be doing to make sure they prep to go to the event to get the most out of it? And then what kind of things should they be doing when they're there? And you mentioned about bringing a second person, but, elaborate on that a little more for us.
Yeah. Basic of all basics, bring a laptop or at least a notepad, just write notes, insights. So then you can also kind of look back into them. And so that's a basic of all basics. Even if you're an introvert, it really doesn't cost anything to say, hey, how are you? Where are you from? It doesn't cost anything. Oh, I'm from Philly. Oh, well, you sell on Amazon? Yeah. Which category? Connect. Start, engaging with conversation. And because you will find people that are very similar to you, probably experiencing similar challenges or challenges that you might help them with, which might make you feel really good and helpful and influential, and why not help others, and vice versa can happen as well. And realize that every event, at least for me, hundreds of events, honestly, even this, if I go to the same event a year later, it's always an adventure. I don't know what to expect. I never know what I'm gonna find. So treat it as an adventure. Try to savor the moment. If you go to a different town, different city, culture, stuff like that, I think that there's no downside into that. But yeah, just grab as much as you can on the content, on the connections, on the city, town. Hopefully that's kind of helpful.
Yeah, and hydrate and sleep, because these events are a lot, and you're going to meet a lot of people. Bring hand sanitizer.
Yeah, I didn't touch like the after parties. Yeah, that's a different universe. The things around it. I'm talking core, in and out for the event.
Yes, for sure. So, and I would second all of that. Bring a notepad, or if you type faster than you write, like me, bring your laptop, bring your charger, and just come ready to learn. It is like drinking from a fire hose, but take diligent notes. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. One more thing I want to add. Some events, especially the Amazon Accelerate, I don't know if they're prosper, honestly, but I know at least for Amazon Accelerate, they have an app. So you're going to download an app, and with the app, you'll be able to get, the agenda, but also there's typically chats. So you can see what everybody's posting inside, tips, this and that. So yeah, if you go to events and check, they have an app, make sure to download that and get the most out of it as well. At least on the Accelerate, also there's some presentations are not physical; they're actually digital. So you can only tune in digitally. So if any of those content pieces are interesting to you, make sure to register for them. And once that happens, you're gonna probably have to take your laptop or your phone, find a nice corner there with Wi-Fi, and go into the stream. What's nice about the stream, is that if you have questions, you can type also on the platform, ask your questions. And of course, if you do physically go into the sessions and they have Q&As, once again, you need to carry, your courage and go and speak on the mic in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people. That's an opportunity also. So something to consider.
Yeah, I think a lot. Prosper absolutely has an app, and you can see all of your sessions there. You can make connections through the app as well before the show, even. And that leads into another great point is after the show. So after you've taken all these notes and listened to these presentations and spoken with these folks, what would be your tips for post-show follow-up? Because there's so many incredible things that happen, and then you're tired and you fly home and the baby's crying and all these things. And it's like, okay, how do you, I mean, right. Or like the dog is sick, like things happen. And it's like, how do you stay focused and continue to make the most out of that after you get home? Because that's really where the impact happens.
Yeah, put it this way. If you made a connection and you want to follow up with that connection, it could be an Amazon team member if you met him at Accelerate. Or if it's a solution provider, don't worry. They're going to reach out to you. Don't worry. And usually, at least we try to give you like a few days or a week at least. So once again, if you want to reach out to another seller or Amazon team member, give them a week so everybody can settle back in. You can settle back in. They can settle back in. And then say, hey, it was not great to meet you regarding this challenge or this issue that we can work on together. So give them kind of a week. That's on the communication side of thing. But of course, if you or your team have all these notes, have it on your desk. If you have one, you should have one, or your computer. And then, in the first few days, just look at it, try to start, see where you can start prioritizing. What can you do really now that will start moving the needle? Or if it's bigger project, bigger things, start, tuning into setting them in motion. That's as far as I remember being, a seller doing that, but also as a solution provider, we definitely give the time for the attendees that we engage with, a few days or at least a week to, to settle back in before we start communicating and start collaborating.
Yeah. And that's why I really like the tip too of having more than one member of your team attend if possible. Now, some of these smaller shows aren't going to have multiple talk tracks going at a time, and you can tackle it as a solopreneur. But if you're going to, I don't know if Innovate had this, but I know Accelerate does. I know Prosper does. There's 3 stages running at all times. And so if you're really wanting to launch your social media strategy this year, and there's a great talk going on about tech talk, and then you also need help with logistics, you can't be 2 places at one time. I always think it's great to bring as many people as possible and then spend the next couple of days kind of doing a post-mortem because the information's fresh on your mind. Okay, this is how I feel like this can impact the business. Like, have a presentation ready for your team to say, like, this is what we learned. This is our biggest takeaways. This is where we think we can implement. Now, how can we execute on this? That was something we always did whenever I was attending shows, learning, different industry, but still the principle remains of like, take it back to your team and share it. Don't just keep it with the people that went,
Right. I do want to add something that just came to my mind is that if you're part of a group, it might be digital native. Digitally native, where, it could be a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group or a meetup group that it's mostly digital. You don't see the people there, but they're your buddies. So first of all, just, when those shows come in, it could be that for the first time you might all meet, your community members from others. So that's a cool thing to begin with. Right. I remember during COVID, it was a whole year shutdown. We met so many new connections online. I think even like you, Lisa, probably we saw you, we connected online, but then after COVID with the first Prosper show, when I started making, seeing physically all these new connections, it was like, oh, it's like seeing, your favorite characters coming from outside the screen, on Netflix show. If you have a Netflix show, your favorite character, all of a sudden you see them in real size. Like, oh, that's cool. It's like seeing Tom Cruise in real size. Like, it's a different dimension. So that was cool. That's a thing to consider. But if you if you don't have a team to bring with you and you're coming solo, but you're part of a community, with these community members, split the work. You go to the sessions you want, they go there, and then you do this cross collaboration with all the notes and tips and advice so you can brainstorm later. That's another advice if you're not bringing a team. So your community members are the team. And if you're not part of any community, once you landed to the show, you come in, once again, how are you? Where are you from? You start making those connections, a few of them, and then say, I'm going to, what about, I'm going to go to this session. If I take notes, would you like my notes? And if you go to that session, you might take notes. Then you can start collaborating there on the ground with other sellers to make really the most of it. So you got to think tactically, strategically. So if you're part of a community, that's your team members, right? And if not, you should be able to create it on the ground. You find really good people there willing to help you and cooperate, stuff like that. So just a quick advice on that as well.
Yeah.
That's good advice. I've got it. We're going to play a little game here, Yoni, with you. So I wrote something on the back of this card right here, and I'm going to ask you a question. Let's see if I got it right. So I'm going to ask you, Yoni, what is your favorite Amazon event and why? I think I know what it is.
That's a tough one, yo. I didn't
Yeah,
prepare.
I know it's a tough one, but remember, this is you personally. What is your favorite event? It doesn't necessarily have to be which one is best.
It's probably Titan
What's your-
Network in Cancun, probably.
Yeah, I figured it would be.
There we go.
Titan Cancun. And
yeah.
I don't disagree with you. It is an amazing event. Lots of great information. Titan in general. Not that there isn't a bunch of others out there that are absolutely incredible. You know, maybe there's ones near you that you could go to for cheaper. That's fine. But Yoni and I definitely both agree.
Let's put a quick note. On why is it so different? Because the Titan Network, if you've never heard of it, it's its own community. So this is the annual event where the whole, the members of the community, only the members of the community really can come in once a year and get together. So the community lives in kind of two dimensions. That you have the digital one where they have the platform, they go in, you have the whole archives and all the learning modules set in place. And they also have kind of local chapters around the world. So it might be that some local cities have their own small groups that they physically meet up every now and then. But definitely once a year, they have the opportunity to all come in. Typically, it's 400 plus, Amazon sellers from the Titan Network family that come in. It's really powerful because these guys are like, a real family, and they're really motivated. They're really energetic, and the location is just amazing beyond this, Cancun, and it's the resort is just spectacular. And also I want to highlight that Titan Network, as far as I can see from the industry, is as much as you can get to like an academy, a real academy, because they have like I believe 4 or 5 group tiers. You have group 1 where this is just you, if you're just an entrepreneur that wants to launch into the market, become an Amazon seller. So they help you with the market research and what to sell, how to source, all that stuff, so you can have the right structure to launch your business. And then you have group 2, you launch a business, you're getting all your systems together, you're generating your first sales, your first advertising campaign. So that's kind of group 2. Group 3, you're already generating revenue, you're generating profit, you want to scale, you want to start hiring and stuff like that. And then you have group 4, they're already doing a few million in revenue. I'm saying all these groups are like class groups. It's like a high school or academy where you have freshmen. I never went to university, so what's after freshman? What do you have here?
Sophomore.
Sophomore.
Yeah. So like that, it's really, so imagine it like you go to like an Ivy League university. When they have that content, it's very rich, it's very powerful, very tested and tried in a way. But also you got the fraternity, right? Where like people are really joining, bonding together. And I feel like a lot of privilege to be able to come in and absorb some of that. It gives me a lot of energy for many other things that I do, because I see the power in community. And yeah, put it all together. It's just spectacular. Of course, the food and the entertainment around it and the parties. It's just a spectacular thing once a year to attend. Once again, the plot twist is you can't just come in as a seller and join those events. You have to be a part of the Titan Network, community and academy, call it. And it's very, very unique.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And really, the reality is every event offers something different. I mean, $1 Billion Seller Summit has a higher ticket price, but every bit of content given there stays there. And we've seen some really high content come out of that one.
Yeah, you have to sign in, I think it's an NDA or non, you have to sign that you're not going to release if it is, you have liability. Yep. So be careful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even Camp Ecom, we just got, Brandon's on his 2nd year of Camp Ecom. That's turning into a great event. Prosper's got its thing. Yoni, let's talk a little bit about, we kind of touched on it, and this is part of going to any of these, the after parties, the networking at these after parties. Why is that so crucial for sellers to attend? And then second of all, sometimes sellers want to know, how do I get into some of these parties? So touch on that a little for everybody.
Yeah, so the core of the events is obviously typically is all the presentation, the content, a little bit of the sit down for lunch and networking, and the exhibition hall when you learn of new solutions that you can use to grow your business. But around it, that's when you have all these after parties, happy hours, fancy dinners. If I take the Prosper Show, for example, Vegas is a massive playground for entertainment. So you'll have parties in the MGM suites there where, it's you overlooking the whole strip. Or we have for all these years, the past few years, we had at the Mandalay Bay, the top over there. What's it called, that place? That top roof where it overlooks the city. It just
Founders Room.
The Founders Room. It just so you're serving the best food in the world, best drinks in the world. And as a seller, you don't really have to pay anything. It's all sponsored, it's typically sponsored by all these solution providers. It happens to be Getida, we sponsor some of these or a lot of these as well. But it gives you, an incredible opportunity to absorb the best, the glory of a city, call it, or the culture of the city, like Vegas. It's it's an international, well-recognized city. And then, of course, and then things are a bit more relaxed. You don't have the pressure. I've got to write everything and down. And it's like, okay, I work very hard for my business. I grind in, day out. Typically, I don't go anywhere. I might be working from home. Probably most of them are working from home. It gives you the opportunity to breathe some fresh air with your industry comrades in a very unique way, a very high quality way. So I think and then once again, when your guard's a little bit down, a little bit, you open up and you make friends, like real friends, not just industry friends, like it could be lifelong friends, which that is sometimes an upside that most don't expect. I didn't, and I have lifelong friends, definitely from around the world also, which makes it this a very powerful thing to take to your personal life. So you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about it is knowing so many people in so many countries. And my friends are like, oh, I want to travel here, I want to travel there. I was like, I have a friend who lives there. We can just go stay with them. Like it's wild. And yeah, like you said, it's just everybody kind of hanging out. It takes I don't know, it kind of puts everybody on a level playing field. I mean, what I love about this industry is that everybody genuinely wants to help each other. But again, it can be kind of intimidating to go speak to somebody at an exhibit booth because you don't really want to be sold to. It just takes all of the labels and everything off everyone. We're all just in civilian wear.
Just humans. Everybody's just humans.
We're just humans. It's like, I'm at the bar. I see you trying to get a drink. Like, you've been here for 20 minutes. What are you trying to order? Let me help you. That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yoni, I think to kind of close this out, because we're getting close to time, what would be your predictions for the future of Amazon events? I mean, obviously the landscape has changed dramatically between 2017 and now. There was a pandemic in the middle, but what do you see kind of happening for the future?
So if I take the AMZ Innovate as an example, I've seen firsthand the evolution of a small meetup group that takes the events by storm because dedication to quality, to impact, to value. So the playing field, I would say, is still open on a global level, in the United States, but of course in Europe or Asia, anywhere, or Australia, wherever you are. If you're listening to this or you're watching this and you really are, and once again, AMZ Innovate was started by an Amazon seller, and still all Amazon sellers, the ones that lead it today. If you're an Amazon seller and you're passionate about community, helping others and creating environments for others to succeed, take the initiative. It can start small and it can become something big and global and international. I'll put it this way also. It happens to be that, give one moment. Yeah, so it happens to be that our CEO, Eitan Wiener of Getida, he's one of the founders of the Prosper Show. I should have mentioned that at the early beginning, but he is. So he was an Amazon seller, passionate about helping others, and he co-founded it with 3 other Amazon sellers: Chad Rubin, James Thompson, and Joe Hansen. And the 4 of them came together. The first one was actually, I believe, in Utah. They did the show, and the show was so successful. It became bigger and bigger and bigger. It became like the industry mecca, or the yearly event that you all have to kind of go and visit. And then they sold. It was so successful. They sold that show to a public company. They made an exit, right? And so today, Emerald Exhibitions owns that the Prosper Show, public company. It became, they took it to the next steps. So if you are passionate about it, you can helping others. That's a good way to start. But of course, if you do so well, it might reward you tremendously later on. So the future events is that probably more and better events will come because it's a meritocracy. As long as you focus on value and helping others, there's a tremendous opportunity for you to help. But on the selling side, to keep your eyes and ears open on more shows that will come, and hopefully that will innovate, that will bring further edge, further sophistication, further qualities, and just stay open-minded to that. Don't be afraid to try and test new events, and just really enjoy the ride.
I love that, and I want to share something with everybody. This is Yoni's badge collection. So not everybody has seen this. Mine is on display here. I don't know if anybody ever clicked into what those were above the Getida logo on my side, but this is Yoni's badge collection. And I think you said you've kept every single badge. I remember you were in a panic one day because you thought you had left your badge in somebody else's backpack. You found that one, right? That was
I found it. I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Thing, yeah.
How many is there, Yoni?
How many is this?
Tell everybody, how many are we looking at? They're stacked on top of each
50,
other.
60, 70. I don't know exactly, but I'm surprised the nail is still holding it. So I need to check the brand of the nail.
And I want to mention. What is it? It is doing God's
It's just
work.
one nail. I'm just, because I come in, that's why I don't want to even take it off, because they're chronologically, it's like, it's like every layer is, from a different time. So you see the Amazon Accelerate channel there. It's pretty fresh.
Yep.
So yeah,
we've got Innovate, we've got Accelerate, Camp Ecom.
That's a Seller Cloud. That's a Seller Cloud one. Yeah, Seller Cloud.
Seller
Cloud. That was in Israel.
This looks like an old Prosper.
So
Yoni, let me ask this.
Shows. But one thing I want to mention that these are only from the shows they gave a badge. Not all shows
we don't get them everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
some have stickers.
Let's get a quick plug though. So Yoni, if people want to find out about current events that are coming up, where can they go to basically find out about what events are coming up in the next couple months, and where they might be able to attend?
I think Getida, because we sponsor so many events on a global scale, I think that definitely visiting getida.com/events is a good place to start. So if you want to see us, join forces with us, that's a good place to be. I think Augustus Kligis has ecomsummits.com, if I'm not mistaken. So it's good because he covers the ground. I know he also compliments us a lot, where we're another resource for him to check what's going on, so you can add it to his directory. I mean, between the Getida events page and Ecom Summits, I think that's a good coverage. I'm
gonna grab the URL for Augustus's website real quick.
Yeah, while you do that, just remind everybody real quick. So anybody listening, that was getida.com/events. You can head on over there. We keep that up to date. I think we update it like weekly now. And it usually has about the next 3 months of different events coming up. And then we'll get you, Lisa's working on getting another one that you guys can check out.
It is AMZsummits.com. So that is what is managed by our partner over at OrangeClick, Augustus Kligis. Like Yoni said, Augustus does a really good job of kind of aggregating the events internationally. Like, we do have some of the international events on our website, but most of ours is domestic focused here in the States. Augustus does a really good job of having a global listing. So if you're, in Prague, if you're in Germany, if you're in Italy, if you're in, Korea, I mean, if you want it, he's got it. Or again, getida.com/events.
Yep. Absolutely.
Amazing.
All right.
Yoni,
thanks, Yoni.
I was about to say, do you want to give a plug or anything else you want to leave? You know what? What is we're going to do a little tie-in here, because if you guys don't know, Yoni and I also co-host another podcast called Prime Talk. Please go check it out. At the end of every episode of Prime Talk, we ask our guests for their message of hope or inspiration for entrepreneurs listening. So Yoni, today, what is your message of hope or inspiration?
Flipping the tables on me unexpectedly. Very good. Okay, what's my message of hope and inspiration for entrepreneurs listening out there? So my message of hope and inspiration is that if you're in this industry, I think you're privileged, because it's fast growing, robust industry where there's, historically speaking, looking probably 10, 20, 30 years into the future, I think it's pretty early on. We feel like, past 10, 20 years, we're like veterans, we're OGs. I don't think so. I could compare it to maybe the internet age, where in the early 90s, it came to be. But, the 90s, we thought we were also innovative, but the iPhone only came out, the smartphone in 2018, so 18 years later. And then, boom, big things came out with internet. You think about Ubers and the gig economy, the Netflix, all these things, that we have AI. We're about 20 years into this. I would say on the Amazon selling side, we're probably just a decade into this, where we started kind of the penetration. And then the next 10, 20 years will be further growth. So you're in an ecosystem that is growing. So whatever you're kind of trying to do, there's more opportunity to get more because it's growing. So just put your dedication, heart and soul to it. Stay focused, stay humble, and just don't be afraid of the challenge, and just keep at it. For me, that kind of worked out, so hopefully that will work out for others. And just enjoy the ride, enjoy the experience, and come to an event.
Yes. When you come visit the Getida booth, we are pretty much always there. Come say hi. We're always excited to meet new people. Yoni, thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Yoni.
And thank you for everybody who tuned in today. If you guys liked what you heard, please be sure to give us a thumbs up, share your thoughts with us in the comments, subscribe to the show, and we will see you all on the next one.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Sellernomics podcast. Special thanks to our sponsor, Getida. Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at getida.com/Sellernomics. Be sure to join us again next week for more great tips on how to grow your business. And thanks again for